Everyone knew that Lucas Ryan only married me out of spite because he couldn't have the one he truly loved. For 5 years of marriage, he was the perfect husband in public, a renowned cardiologist adored by many, but behind closed doors, he was cold, distant, and had asked for a divorce more times than I could count. Then his first love, Evelyn Snow, returned to the country due to illness. Lucas devoted himself to her care, never leaving her side. He even warned me repeatedly, Eve's heart condition is delicate. If you dare show up and stress her out, we're done for good. Finally, during his 100th demand for a divorce, I agreed. What Lucas didn't know, however, was that I was already carrying his child. On the way to the courthouse to finalize the divorce, I was in a car accident. Both my life and my unborn child's were lost in an instant. Lucas didn't get the divorce papers that day, but he did get the news that Evelyn had found a perfect heart donor match. Excited, he rushed back to the hospital and performed the surgery himself, taking the heart from my lifeless body and placing it into hers. It wasn't until later that he remembered our divorce, but by then, my phone would never ring again. The pain finally disappeared the moment my soul left my body. I hovered above the scene, staring at the mangled car smoking in the rain. The driver's seat was crushed beyond recognition, and the body slumped inside was twisted and broken in every way imaginable. Today was supposed to mark our 5th wedding anniversary. Ironically, it was also the day Lucas asked for a divorce for the 100th time. Over the years, I had tried to ignore the cracks in our fragile relationship, hoping that somehow we'd make it work. But this time, I finally agreed to let go. 5 years is a long time, even if most of it was marked by distance and tension. Regardless of how things were, we'd spent a significant part of our lives together. But everything changed a month ago when Evelyn returned from abroad, her health deteriorating. From that moment on, Lucas never came home. He stayed at the hospital, tirelessly caring for her. Everyone knew he had married me out of anger and heartbreak after Evelyn rejected him, but I had loved him for years, long before he even knew my name. So, even when I found out the truth, I stayed. Loving him was as natural as breathing, no matter how much it hurt. My thoughts returned to the present as I watched the ambulance from St. Mercy's Hospital load my broken body into the back. I followed instinctively. Lucas worked at St. Mercy's, where he was a legendary cardiologist. Patients and staff worshipped him. Yet, as his wife, I couldn't even go to him for a cold. On our wedding day, he had made it clear, I don't want to see you at my workplace. And don't bother me over trivial things. That's why I never told him I was pregnant. As I floated above the ambulance, my hand drifted to my stomach. The life I had carried, the one I had dreamed of for years, was gone now, just like me. Tears streamed down my face, silent and endless, as an ache settled deep in my chest. That child was supposed to be my miracle, my hope after 5 long years. My body wasn't taken to the morgue. Instead, it was wheeled into the operating room on the 5th floor. The door to the operating room opened, and 2 figures stepped inside. Dr. Ryan, this isn't legal without the family's consent. The voice belonged to Mason, Lucas's protege. I knew him well. Over the years, he had eaten countless meals I'd brought for Lucas. Evelyn scoffed and crossed her arms as she walked toward my lifeless body. She glanced at me before quickly turning her head, unable to hide the disgust in her eyes. I've waited far too long for a compatible heart. I'm not about to let this opportunity slip away, she said, coldly. Then, without hesitation, she turned to Mason. Call Lucas. Tell him to come back and perform the surgery himself. Mason hesitated, shifting uncomfortably on his feet. He opened his mouth as if to protest, but said nothing. Evelyn pulled out a card from her purse and handed it to him. There's 50 grand on this card. This stays between us. No one has to know. Mason stared at the card, torn between guilt and greed. Finally, after a long pause, he took it and dialed Lucas. The phone rang a few times before Lucas's voice filled the room. What is it? He asked, sounding impatient. Mason glanced at Evelyn.